Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I lost my voice right away because I'm so freaking anxious. I don't know why I'm anxious. I know Mitch, but not Mitch, Rich. Mitch is my boss. But anyways, so we have one and only Rich here today. I think I tried to write a little brief thing there, like in the description, that I have known about Rich for a while. I don't know. It's probably about maybe just from the start of when you started reviewing fragrances, Rich. I started kind of seeing your videos here and there. I wasn't really like I didn't even know about like lives or YouTube or how to comment and stuff like that. But eventually, one of my friends. Hi, if you're hearing it's Charlene at work. So she had hi Joanna, and she had talked about you a little bit and the whole kind of like you and Ramsey and Eugene and all of that. And then I kind of started watching it a little bit more closely. And over the last few months, I have got to know Rich a little bit more, and we have decided that we are twins separated at birth. No, I'm joking. Like we have a lot of, it's just we have talked and in a more personal level, and I've got to appreciate him more and got to know him a little bit better. So I would not proceed with further interviews before interviewing Rich and in my channel, and he's been very helpful to me in many ways. And without further ado, we have. I'm going to add him to the stage. Welcome, Rich Mitch.
Yo.
Hello. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Where is that? I want to see your haircut. What happened?
You want to see my what?
I want to see your new haircut. What happened?
I haven't got a new haircut because I haven't got any hair. Hold on. Where's my face?
Just like, where's my face?
Where's my face? I don't know. Where is my face? I need settings.
Okay. That's all right. You just figured out. Let's see. Hi, everyone. Drops end of your day. I want to see the hog. Bilbo says, hi, Mitra, Rich, and friends. Hi, Christy. Hi, Joanna. Hi, Aaron. And oh, there you go. Look at you.
My fresh weave.
Yeah, your fresh haircut.
It's smooth, but there's more going on here. You know, I've got like, I don't know if you've ever seen my face before, but it's hairy on the bottom. It's hairy on the bottom, and then there's nothing on the top. It looks like I've put my head on upside down.
It talks about all the testosterone, right? Like the testosterone makes you bald, but hairy in other parts.
Yeah, allegedly. I don't know. I haven't had my testosterone tested for a while now. I should probably get it done again because I'm approaching 40. You know, I mean,
you are good. You don't need testosterone checking.
I'll be okay.
The universe has been unfair to you. All this hair here, and you've got none.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I look at people with absolute manes, and then I'm just like, whoa. I remember even when I had hair, it was thin. Do you know what I mean? I can't get my camera to behave. I don't know what I'm doing. There it is.
Yeah, there it is. I can see you now. Yeah.
I'm wearing my glasses. I look distinguished a little bit.
Yes,
about as distinguished as I'm ever gonna look. This is me. How's my audio? Is it okay?
It's good. It's perfect. So I'm like so anxious. Like I know you, and I've never been anxious like even interviewing people who I don't know, like, or really like I don't know nothing about. But anyways, be easy on me.
Yes.
Like,
I will be easy on you if you are easy on me. It will be fine.
Yeah.
We'll be okay.
I mean, I'm gonna tell the audience because Rich has a tendency to fall asleep when I talk. So if he nods, we know why. All right. So,
this mug is
Mr. Strong.
Yeah, this mug is a lie. I am not Mr. Strong, but
you are in many levels. The strength is not just.
I love my big mug though, because it just means I don't have to keep filling it so often. Do you know what I mean? Way, cheers.
Yeah, cheers. What are you drinking?
Water, always water. Water or tea.
Excuse me while I hydrate.
Exactly. Everybody thinks
Okay.
everyone thinks that I'm like an alcoholic. They think I'm drinking beer and stuff like that, and it's like, no, just water.
Yeah, I'm just funny. Did you say that? Like, just
No,
sound
water. I'm
okay.
I just like to look like I drink loads, but actually don't. I'm a man of contradictions. I'm a duck of contradictions.
I actually get that comment a lot when I go to parties and I'm, like, kind of silly and people are like, "Did you have a lot to drink?" And I was like, "No, I'm just
No,
silly, not
no, I'm just
drinking."
generally
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just naturally silly, you know what I mean? Become very stern when I'm drunk, you know what I mean? Become very centered and
Aw.
very gravitas, you know what I mean? I'm like, "Oh, yes, let's have a board meeting or something like that when I've had a drink," you know? I'm like the opposite way around.
Alright, because we have limited time, because Rich has to get to go in an hour, we're gonna start with, "Tell us about yourself," like a work interview.
Like, a way of telling me about myself, I pretend to be a duck on the internet, and
Where
I,
did that come from?
well, I used to have so before I've had a YouTube account, like just like everybody's got like an account on YouTube so they can watch things and comment and stuff. That didn't used to be the case. You used to just be able to watch YouTube from the outside,
Oh, okay.
and then it became like, oh, you've got to have like an account. So I set one up, and I can't remember. I must have changed my name, and I can't remember what it was. But I, what did I do? I used to have the picture used to be. Can you remember that music performance of Katy Perry where she had the dancing sharks?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
that, I had that. I had a picture of the dancing shark, so I could have been the shark instead of the duck. Um, but I was talking to a fragrance reviewer called Jimmy Quantrell, who's taking all these videos down and doesn't review anymore. And I was like, "Oh, do you like me? Do you like me thing?" And he was like, "No, I hate it." So I was like, "Oh, cheers, man." Um, so I was like, "All right, I'll find something else." And I was just sweeping the internet, just generally going down a rabbit hole on the internet, like I do multiple times a day. And I came
Mhm.
across this art installation, and it was this guy, and he had a giant rubber duck, and he was taking it into like port towns like Hong Kong and Toronto. Like I think it was Toronto, it might have been Vancouver, um, and he was taking it around the world. And I just saw this picture of this massive duck because somebody went to one. It was like a Chinese night market,
Mm.
and it like my friend was like, "Oh, look," and I was like, "What the fuck is that?" And she was like, "It's a massive, massive rubber duck," and I was like, "Mint." So I was like, "I'll have that." So I went on the
Sure.
internet, had a look, and I was like, "Look at it!" And then I kind of saw its face. Like I was like looking at the picture, and I saw its face, and in my head, like I isolated its face, and all you could see was this kind of like half smiling rubber duck with like the sky behind it. And I just thought, yes. And it's just
Yeah.
been that ever since. I think I changed it for 5 minutes once about 4 years ago, but then I changed it back because I thought, nah, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Um,
But that's where the duck came from.
that's where the duck comes from. So Dahlia says Mr. Kuros is
Mr.
here.
Kuros. Oh, brace yourself. Hold on a second. Look what I found. I was throwing loads of things out the other day, and I found
Oh,
this.
oh my god. Oh my
It is
god.
literally, it's like a factice, but it's a
Yes.
giant chorus. It's got nothing in it. Don't worry. If I had this much vintage chorus, I'd be living in some outrageous part of the world. Do you know what I mean? I'd be
Mhm.
like go and live in Monaco. Hasn't got a
Mhm.
batch code, which is a shame, but not to worry.
Like,
So
the fact this has a batch code?
no, it hasn't. It hasn't. That's what I'm
Oh,
saying. It hasn't got a batch code, so you know. But that is, I love that. I think I got it from a Nuge.
of
I
course.
think I got it from a Nuge. I got this from a Nuge as well. Hold up. Look at this.
Oh, Calvin
It's
Calvin
just
Klein?
Calvin. It's just
Calvin.
Calvin. That's what it's called. It's called Calvin. The lid even comes off.
Mm,
Um, but it's like that's glass, but that's plastic. You know. And
interesting.
I've got a Joule as well. This was a present off Jonathan.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Jonathan. And I very kindly never got him anything, and I still think about that to this day.
Mm.
So don't tell anyone, but I'm gonna get Jonathan a present at some point. I need to get in touch with either Ramsey or Taffy and get his address and send him something randomly.
Yeah, it's hard to get anything out of UK, so like that.
Oh, you can't get perfume out. It's a joke. Like I don't know what I could do. Hopefully, if the trade deal goes through between the US and America, it'll be easier to ship stuff over there. But I mean,
So people in the comments, let me just like look at the comments here. Bilbo is complaining. Sandra, hi Sandra, she's here. Bilbo is complaining we are going to watch these two flirt for an hour. And okay, um, he's he's my twin brother.
yes, don't be
We
weird, Bilbo.
we have decided that we both hate Amberwood. What else was
Yes.
there? I can't remember. Our
Oh, yeah.
love is the same, and there was something else.
Yes, there have been many things that we just agree on, and we
Yes.
just say this is crap. It was like when I met Ramsey, I was like, oh, I was like, we're bonding over stuff that we think shit. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, I've seen that over there. It's awful, and he was like, yes, that's terrible. You know what I mean? So that's
Correct.
kind of
And then that should be the solid proof that we were separated at birth.
absolutely.
Oren, here, and then hi Tim. And this is a fantastic collaboration with two great people. Thank you, Lane. And I'm gonna ignore Bilbo. Amber with this shite. Shite? Is that how you say it? Shite.
Shite, just shite.
Right. Okay.
It's just shite.
All right.
Awful.
That is correct. So tell me about now. You didn't even tell me about yourself. Tell me about yourself. Where? Why fragrances? Where did you come from?
Where did I come from? Well, when a mother duck and a father duck love each other very much. No, they I don't know. I sort of started smelling things when I was really young. My mother's perfumes and my father's aftershaves. And what was it? I think it was Brute. Was it Brute? He had Brute, Old Spice, like the usuals. Nothing too interesting because we don't live anywhere that had like outrageous perfumes, and I don't think he was the type of person that would have worn them. He used to use one of the big smells I remember when I was a kid was, do you know that stuff people used to spray on their hair to get it to stick and stay in place? And he used to use that, and I remember the stench of that and being like, wow, like he had like shit tons of CFCs in it and stuff like that. Like it's obviously affected us greatly, like me mental cognitive development and that.
It explains a lot.
Yeah, exactly. It explains a lot. And I was like, fuck, I remember that smell a bit. And then obviously you get like 10, 9, 10, 11, you start getting Lynx, which is called Axe in America, Lynx Africa. I had Voodoo.
No.
I had a few of them, and then I got like a what was it I got? Did I get Tommy Hilfiger one year? Like we were out somewhere in the shops, and I was like, ooh, look at these funky bottles over here. What are these? Because they've all got like interesting shapes and all of that sort of thing. So I like ran over, like, oh, what's this over here? And then I was like, what's in them? And they were like smells, and I was like, let me smell them then. So I did, and I always loved Tommy Hilfiger. Just Tommy. It was just that, and then I wore that for like 2 or 3 years, and then Polo Sport. Someone gave us some Polo Sport, and that was amazing as well. So I got that for a while, and then when I left school, I went to college, and college is different. Like you call college, you call university college over here. We just call it like it's a higher education thing, but it's not university. And after I would finish, I would just go walking through the town, like the city where I live, Newcastle. And because I don't live in a city or anything like that, so it was the first time I was like regularly there. So I was spreading my wings a little bit. And I was like, let me try all this. I would always go past the perfume stuff and it would smell. And I would be like, whoa, I was intoxicated by the whiff. So like I would like wander over and go in and like try stuff. And you used to get like a little stipend off the government. It was like £30 a week if you had full attendance.
Yeah.
And I used to get that. I used to get it. I used to go every day. So I get 30 quid a week. And that was a lot of money back then. Do you know what I mean? It was like, it was, you could do stuff with 30 quid a week. And so I started collecting perfumes, like properly collecting perfumes then. And I had stuff like Paco Rabanne, Ultraviolet Man.
Mm.
I had the DK. Did you ever see the men's fragrance, the Donna Karan ones, the DK that
Yeah,
were towers?
yeah.
They were really tall. I had that as well because that was really nice. Hugo Boss, loads of stuff, loads of
And then,
stuff.
so how old you would have, like, it's like, I guess 18, 19, right? Is that
16, 17, turned
6?
17 and 18, 19, 20, and then I started wearing stuff more as like a signature. I always had quite a few perfumes, but I started wearing stuff that was more signature. So I remember Roadster coming out when I was like 22, 23, and I wore that for a couple of years.
Mm,
I wore a lot of designer stuff.
mm,
I didn't have access, didn't know anything. And then I bought this Tommy Hilfiger called, I think it was Tommy, established in 1985.
mm,
And I wore that for a year and went back to buy it. And it was gone. And
mm.
that was kind of my first experience of discontinuation. And I was shook. And I was like, why is it
What
gone?
happened?
Where is it? Like, yeah, exactly. What happened? What the fuck? And they were like, oh, it's just gone. You can't. So I was like, this was like the burgeoning days of like the internet.
Mm,
So I went onto the internet and I was like, where's me Tommy Hilfiger? Can I get it? And I came across a review by Robes Await of it, and I was like, fucking people
oh,
reviewing these on like
yeah.
YouTube. And I was like, fuck, I thought I was the only person in the world who bought like multiple bottles of perfume, thinking I was totally isolated, had no idea there was a
Mm,
fragrance community whatsoever. Um, and I was watching his reviews, and then I started watching Katie Puckrick as well because I was just like looking for different scents and stuff like that. And um, I was just watching them, and for years I watched fragrance reviews and like started collecting stuff, and it
mm,
started building up more and more. And I never commented. I was watching fragrance reviews for about 7 or 8 years before I even
yeah.
started commenting on videos.
Mm,
And then I think it got to 2016 or 2017, and I tried Ambra Sultan in a
mm.
department store. I didn't realize department stores sold perfumes. So I went into this department
Never
store and I
ventured
was
to
like,
that part.
what? I was like, there's perfume? Yeah, but like there's perfume in them there hills. So I went over and I was like, all these different brands I never knew existed. And I tried Ambra Sultan. This guy was like, oh, loads of Chinese people buy it. And I was like, I've always had like like an interest in China as well for some reason. And I was like, oh, go on. Then I tried it and I was just like, what the fuck? I was like, this is crazy shit. I didn't know you could get niche perfumes where I lived, so I started getting into stuff like that. And
Mm,
it was really interesting. It was Ambra Sultan that really opened the floodgates,
yeah.
because I was like, I didn't know perfume could be this way,
So
you
was
know.
that your first kind of niche house that you tried?
Yes, I don't know that was the first niche house that I tried, but it was the first niche house that got any sort of traction with us, you
Mm,
know. Like the first time I sort of realized that I could, I could do niche perfume and I could
mm,
understand it, and I knew that I could get it as well. Like I didn't realize there
mm,
were all these like different boutiques around like England because all the content I was watching was coming out the States. Um,
mm,
and it was in London as well, and
mm,
it wasn't as easy and as freely available to to buy stuff from London online, and I didn't trust online shopping at all for like years.
mm,
And I
mm.
was like, when I got more and more into this, I had to realize needed to quickly get over that. Otherwise, I was gonna be like, I'm not getting any perfume if I'm not careful. Um, and so I got over that pretty quickly, and then started finding loads of different stuff. After that, I came across Scentland, and
Mm,
he'd reviewed something, and I was like, that's quite interesting. Um, and then no, it wasn't. It was Paco Rabanne Pour Homme,
Mm.
And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I've smelled that. I was like, I've seen it in the shop. So I went and smelled it. I was like, oh, that's really nice. And I'd seen something by Mr. Smelly, and he was like, oh, I've got like the vintage version. I was like, the fucking what? It was like I've got like the vintage version. I was like, no. So he was talking about how he was selling a few perfumes. So I emailed him, and he was like, oh yeah, like I'm selling this bottle of Paco, like this vintage bottle of Paco Rabanne Pour On for like 45 quid. I was like, fuck it, I'll have it. And I got it, and I was just like, what the fuck? It smelled
Mm.
so different to the stuff that was in the shops.
Oh, okay.
So much better. And that's kind of what took us down the vintage route. I ended up buying stuff off Scentland, and I ended up buying stuff off people just all over the place who were selling like vintage perfume. The thing is, I'm not on Facebook
Mm.
or like any of the forums or anything like that, because I'm not particularly asked about getting into that side of things.
Have you ever
So
been? Like,
no, never had a
no.
Facebook account, never had an Instagram account, never had name any of them, and I've never had one. You know, I've got
Mm.
YouTube. YouTube's like, people keep saying, YouTube's the YouTube's like social media, and I'm like, well, I kind of have to like begrudgingly admit that it is, but I don't have any other way for people to contact us and stuff like that. It's fantastic. So I keep saying to people, if I'd wanted to stay in touch with everyone I went to school with, I wouldn't have got rid of them in the first place. Like,
So I'll tell you something funny that I haven't told you. About I want to say about a year and a half ago, I wanted to get and fragrances from UK. Do you know
okay,
about that?
I've heard of them. They've got the A with the little dot over the
Yeah,
top. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And then we were kind of, and it's so hard to get anything out of UK, like, and they don't ship out of UK, and it was, whatever. And I was talking to Charlene, and she's like, I think Rich Mitch is able to get some stuff out of UK. And I was like, who is this Rich Mitch? Like, I knew who you were, but that guy, I went to look up everywhere, and it's like to find you. I must have just messaged then some random Rich Mitch on Instagram.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, what did they say?
Oh, thank God he never responded. Now I realize that probably it went to nowhere, that message, and
Oh,
the guy got it. And I was like, what the fuck she's talking about?
Jesus Christ.
I don't even know what she's talking about.
I don't still to this day don't know how to get shit out of the UK. I would love to get one of the licenses, but they cost like $1,000, and it's like
Yeah.
it's not intensive work, but it's like it
Yeah.
costs a lot, and you've got to like write shit down, and you've got to
You have
do.
to maintain it. That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly. As well, you've got to keep paying for it, and it's got to be very specific. It's got to be wrapped in its original wrap, and it's got to be like, I couldn't just get a license and then start flinging half-empty bottles of fucking Feminine Dubois
Mhm.
around the world. Or I would. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I would love
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
do that.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Nothing would make us happier, honestly, but just can't.
You know what? I ended up finding, like, this is the how crazy things we go through as a frag heads. Like, I ended up I talked to a Chinese friend who found a Chinese businessman who ships usually hazardous material. So we got it shipped to this unknown person just because they both speak Chinese. And then this guy shipped it to me directly from UK, which was fine, except that the end bottles at the time, like, they're not really made to get into the plane, I think. They leaked halfway, which was okay. I mean, the brand reimbursed me, even though it went through the third party. They kind of reimbursed me because that was a common whatever. But it's just the crazy things we go with the freaking shipping. I hate it.
Oh God,
Anyways,
honestly, I have gone through some madnesses. Me and Anuj have done some mad shit. Like I thought I'd lost I thought I'd lost a haul off him of like 40 bottles or something, because it just sat in customs for about 2 weeks. And he was in touch with them. I was in touch with them. Fucking, I was thinking about getting in touch with me MP. I was like,
yeah,
fuck it. I was like, what am I supposed to do? You know?
yeah,
But it
yeah,
came through in the end.
it's crazy. So tell me, like, I have a list of questions that one should ask a fragrance critique. Um, here, how do you define your personal fragrance style or aesthetic as a reviewer?
How do I define my style of reviewing, or how do I define myself?
Like, what kind of like, okay, let's say, how would you, okay, so from what piques your curiosity to try a fragrance? Would you blind buy and try? Would you get a sample of it and then kind of review? What would you, like, how would
I,
you go about
I reckon I've done it all. I reckon I've done loads of types of acquiring fragrances.
it? Mhm.
The stuff I want to try just because I like the brand.
Mm,
The stuff I want to try because I like the perfumer. The stuff I want to try because I like the notes, or I know what materials that they work with.
mhm,
The stuff I want to try because I'm almost certain I won't like it and everybody else does, so I can shit on it. Um, there's stuff I want to try just because it's old and you can't get it anymore, and I've found a way to get a bottle, you know.
mm. It's the hunt.
Um, yeah, like the hunt's really, really fun. It's like honestly, it keeps you occupied. Um, it keeps you occupied so that like your mind's got something to do. My mind would be doing
Yeah.
something else, whether I wanted it to or not, if I wasn't looking for fragrances. Um,
Mhm.
but but I have kind of over the last 2 years, ever since I got this massive bottle of vintage Derby by Guerlain, I've said to myself, right, I'm going to be a lot more picky about what I buy, and for every kind of perfume I've bought since then, I must have sold about five. So
Oh, wow.
I've shrunk my collection, but made it better.
Mm,
Like I've got access to stuff. Like I've got access to stuff that I can wear that I want to wear now. I don't feel like I've got to wear stuff because I own it and I never wear it. You know.
mm,
Um, so what what gets us to like a perfume? There's a lot of things. I don't think that you should be quite so ideological in what you try as per. You've got to try and keep your horizons as broad as
mm,
possible. That said, to me, designer perfume has completely shit the bed, and it's finished. It's to me, I smell. I walk through the department stores and the perfume shops and the stock all this crap from like John Paul Gaultier and Paco Rabanne.
mm.
When I just see nothing worth liking, you know.
And why is that? What would you think? So just a second, somebody is asking, talking about Harrods. Yeah, Harrods and some businesses ship to US. Selfridge just ships to
Yes,
US. But they are big companies and they have license and that the
they
license
sell
comes.
brand new things. Yeah, they sell like brand new things, so they're happy to do that.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get anything that you can't probably already get in the country that you're already in. Like,
Exactly. Exactly. Um, okay, so what was I going to say? So what do you mean by like what would have you liked to see in the designer fragrances that you're not seeing anymore? Or do you think this is a matter of your taste maturing and you have been tried so many things that this is not the new ones are not appealing to you, or it is that there is a change in the designer fragrances, you think?
I think it's probably a bit of both. I I with being into vintage fragrances, basically I've had this massive landscape to go over of perfume releases that over the last 2 years. Um, and over the last 200 years, sorry, that I've been able to like explore and try. And I found that my like, I much prefer the aesthetic of 40 years ago,
Mhm.
30 years ago, 50 years ago than I do 5 years ago, 10 years
Mm,
ago, today. And I feel like some of the bans on materials
mm,
have neutered and impaired and castrated perfumes to the point where there's such a restriction on the palette that a lot of the perfumes are just like, there's only so many different ways you can rearrange these molecules if the palette's so small,
Mm,
you know?
mm,
And I don't smell anything new. I don't smell any aesthetics that I like. The modern aesthetic is just not for me in perfumery.
mhm,
There is there is nothing in perfume that is being released these days that I even remotely care for at all, you
mm,
know? Like, I
mm,
can appreciate stuff that's a bit different, like, I smell Ganymede, and I would never wanna smell like that, and I would never buy it, and I would never wear it, but
mm,
I can appreciate the fact that it's different
mm.
from a lot of
It's
the
unique.
stuff that's yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and
Mm,
I'm like, I'm not getting involved in that, and then there's also my kind of, like, style and aesthetic where I'm like, I want, like, something that's different. Sometimes I just want something that's different for the sake of being different,
mm,
you
mm.
know?
So,
Um,
like, Nina says, I feel like this sometimes if the vintages, if preserved or something else, they have so much more complexity. The thing is, like, what the community or like the businesses are doing, they're doing what sells, right? Like they're getting things that they sell the most. And I met someone from the business community, and they were saying like Sephora has a booklet of what can be sold, what kind of genre or what kind of fragrances can be sold there and what cannot. And if it's like an Irish dominant fragrance, most likely it won't be because that's not something that mass population buy,
yeah,
which is kind of in some ways because it's a chicken and egg thing, right? If you're not making it accessible to public and selling in the stores like Sephora and other places, then how is general public is gonna get exposed to that, right? Like not a lot of people aren't going like online and looking for stuff. Like people see it in the shops and whatever. And to be honest, at this point, the niche and designer prices are almost the same. Like really, it's
yeah,
not much different. So it is kind of sad that people are buying what's available to them, and what's available to them is run by just that. It's kind of like a hamster wheel. Like, people can't get out of that and try something new because it's not
yeah.
offered in the
Yeah,
places like that.
exactly, yeah, exactly. If you don't find the online community, um, which is now going the same way as niche and designer perfume, they are, quote, "refining" their kind of content to just maximum exposure to, like, the lowest common denominator,
Mm,
um, then it's like even now the online community, you have to really, really seek out different people who aren't just the big channels, and they aren't pumping the same stuff from the same brands constantly, and they aren't giving you the illusion of choice. You
mm,
know, you need to go out there and find someone who's talking about stuff that isn't popular, that
mm,
isn't what the brands have put funding into to get it sold.
mm,
It's, it's 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 tough because it's like perfumes now are, like, made using AI and focus groups, and it's all data
mm,
driven,
mhm,
and it's very hard to innovate in that space when something is so dialed in. You know,
mm,
that quote that was attributed to Henry Ford, and he was like, if I'd given my customers what they'd wanted, it would have been a faster horse. Like, it wouldn't have been a car, would have been a faster horse. And apparently there's no evidence that he said that, but the point is absolutely brilliant, because somebody has to do something that like forces people or exposes people to something new and different and take them away, and that is on these new brands and stuff like that, you know?
mm.
So
Mm,
when I smell something like Ganymede by Marc Antoine Barrois, I'm like, that is awful and I hate it and I would never wear it. But it's so different from the amberwood
mm,
sugar diabetic smell that is being produced by all these other horrible houses or the Middle East clone houses,
yep.
and it's just they're just all they're all very similar. And since it's since it's so different, I want to like back it and give it a thing. But again, it's not my aesthetic. There aren't perfumes particularly being made by any other brands that are for me these days, maybe with the exception of Les Indomptables.
Okay, so getting to that, Nina is asking, what was the last release you loved?
Christ. Um that's not an easy question, that. Um the last new release. I don't know. Maybe it's one of the Les Indomptables.
Mm.
Ambra Supreme. I really like that.
I
Oh,
smelled Amber Supreme yesterday. It was surprising to me because most like ambergris is not really amber and it's not sweet at all. Like it just kind of caught me off guard a little bit. Like I'm like, yeah, because I kind of expected something a little bit sweet ambery, and it wasn't. It's like quite dry. And Charlene had it in the office. We do usually kind of
did
we
you get
do
the Immortelle
Immortelle from.
from Ambra Supreme?
It was just 2 seconds. I got something dry, like, and it was if it's, like, probably that was Immortelle, it was dry and herbal, so, like, that probably was, Immortelle, but it was just, like, 2 seconds before I left the office, but it didn't come across that kind of sweet amber that I thought it would
Yeah,
be.
yeah, yeah. It's an ambergris perfume
Mm,
rather than like an actual amber. It's a bit like Amber Noir by Dior. Like
yeah, yeah,
that's meant to be an ambergris perfume rather than an amber, but it's kind of blurred lines a
mm.
little bit. It's a funny one.
Um, there is well, let's see, in the comments, is modern releases are like stale cigarettes. If you're a smoker, you'll smoke them anyways. Don't smoke, it's bad for your health. On this, it's no, we're not smoking anything. Um, there is a great designer house with fabulous original perfumes, superbly made in amazing bottles. Comme des Garçons. It's close. Apparently, um, designer house. Yes, they are designer house.
Yeah,
That
they
was
are. That's right.
interesting.
Yeah,
Um, Hitler gave Henry Ford one of the highest orders of Nazi medal for his services to hatred.
that's
Okay,
unusual. I didn't
interesting.
know that.
Little
Yeah,
fun fact.
Henry Ford wasn't a great like person as like a human being, but he ushered in a new age of things. Do you know what I mean?
Right. I mean, I some people in the fragrance, even the perfumers have abused people,
Yeah,
but they have created good things. It's just that kind of just appreciating
it's
what
the
it is.
yeah, it's the age old adage of trying to separate the art from the artist. You
Mhm,
know,
mhm.
like
I
people
mean,
still.
it's nice when you love the person too, like, as a person. It is really nice when you meet someone who's really nice and they made a fragrance who's very, fantastic. It's like double of the pleasure, really.
Yeah.
But I try to tell people, like, just because you don't like the perfumer, then it doesn't mean that you can shit on their fragrance because that's something else, like, that they have created or, like, that's the it's hard to do that though, to be staying objective, right? Onto somebody's fragrance, and I don't know how you navigate that if you don't like someone as a person. Has it happened to you that you haven't liked the person as a perfumer, but you like their fragrance?
Um, I'm trying to
Because
think.
usually I don't buy their fragrance.
Yeah,
If I don't like
it,
someone, I'm not buying.
it's because it's that tells you something about the nature of what you are doing with perfume, because it's inherently emotional,
Mm,
and you have emotions attached to it. It's not some kind of, like you say, we try to be objective, but the thing is that really there's always a mix of objectivity and subjectivity, and there's always a mix of like logic and feeling goes into things. But the perfume sort of thing is and I suppose it's true with a lot of hobbies, it's very emotionally driven, you
Mm,
know? And so
mm,
when you come across someone, um, when you come across someone that you really dislike, but they've done something that you really do like, that is something that you have to try and reconcile with yourself, you
yeah,
know? It's really difficult. You have to try and like that's
radical
on
acceptance.
yeah, it's like you have to try and do something. The thing is that I've never met any of the perfumers. I've never talked to them. Um, I've never, say I quite like having the distance from them,
Mm,
because it allows us to just sort of like I don't get any blurred lines or mixed up sort of
mm.
feelings and stuff like that. I mean, it's not true. I've spoken to Antoine Lee before on Eugene's stream. So,
But
but
you have like you have made a point of that. Like that's your kind of mandate and mission, I feel like more than anyone else that I have ever watched, that to not accept free bottles, not accept free samples, and just um, stick to that. And I think that's a value that you hold very strongly, and I think that's why you're respected in the the fragrance community. That that you totally eliminated bias, like into that kind of things. Obviously, there's people like we don't like their personality or whatever, they've done something horrific that's kind of like sometimes it affects us in even consciously or unconsciously, but you have made that clear that you don't wanna be part of that, kind of getting
yeah,
a sample and reviewing it. And
I I really dislike it. Like I really, really dislike it. And there's a lot of pushback from other reviewers and stuff like that, like a lot of reviewers, because that's something they feel they need to do. And it's something that they require to make their content and stuff like that. To me, it's not like I don't, because I my kind of understanding of myself, or my kind of image of myself, is that of like a consumer, and
mm,
that's what the content is, and that's what my channel is. Like I review things, but only from like a consumer sort of standpoint.
mm,
Like my reviewing technique is literally tell say what the notes are, say what I smell the most, and then just talk about it. Just say things. Just like
mm,
don't plan it and never plan it.
mm,
That's not good. But there are other reviewers who get press packs, and they get the perfume, they get payment for for talking about them, and um they get bulletins, like bullet points of what to say. They get like essentially a script, of what to say. And there are reviewers who have media kits, rates, like what tell us what your rates are. I've seen the messages, I've seen the emails that people get. I find that outrageous, because at that point you're not a reviewer. You're not a reviewer at all. You're a salesperson, you
yeah, it's
know.
like a pharmaceutical sales rep.
Yeah, you're a sales rep. Yeah, that's what you are. You're not a reviewer. You're not an enthusiast anymore. You're a sales rep.
Mm,
People are like, "Oh, I've combined my hobby and like a worked it." No, you haven't. You've sacrificed your hobby to become
mm,
a sales rep. That's what you've done. And I have said that to a number of reviewers, or words to that effect, and the stuttering that fucking comes out of them when they hear that, or when you put it that
mm,
way to them, because they don't think of it like that. And unfortunately, it's because there's this massive fucking circle jerk between influencers and companies, and basically
yeah,
really consumers as well. There's a lot on the consumers are not educating themselves, and they're not educated by fucking anyone else about the actual nature of the relationship that's going around there. It's a death spiral. It's not gonna end well. I mean, nobody's gonna fucking die over it. That's not what I'm saying. But it's like it's gonna descend into this kind of hellscape, like what you see on some of the really big channels now, you know? Like some
mm,
of the really big channels are just like, oh, I got this. It's a clone, it's a cheapie of this other
uh,
fragrance, and here's a link where you can buy it. Essentially saying to people, if you tell them I sent you, you'll get 10% off. I'll get 20% of the cut. They'll sell their fucking perfume. And it's like, fair enough, but then don't sit there and try and tell me that you are anything other than a sales rep, because you
Yeah.
are. It's like you see people like quote unquote reviewing stuff, and they're not reviewing it. They're not reviewing it, and
Yeah,
it's
well, but the thing is, like, if you're sent, I mean, if you're even sent a free sample pack and or whatever the free
samples should be free to everybody though.
right,
Like,
samples should be free everyone, but like if you send a free bottle, then you know at least number one, at least you have to mention that you've got it for free from the brand. That's number one. That's even if you feel like your opinion is not biased, that the receiver needs to hear that because that might change their opinion of review, like listening to your review or not, right? Like, so that's the some of the things is the perceived bias. Like you might not feel like that, you're not acting it like that, but that's a perceived bias that needs to be mentioned. But I'm not for like a script or anything. Like nobody tells me what to say. I mean, I'm not prominent or anything. I'm like, this is my fucking hobby. But in that, like somebody giving you a script, that's yuck. That's
it
yuck.
is. It's mental, and the fact is that what really pisses off is it's not divulged at all. It's like, I find these fragrances extremely sexy. It's like, well, really?
Oh,
Do you? Do you though? You know what I mean? And that, because if they're saying something that they don't, if they're saying something that isn't true on purpose, that's a lie. You know what I
correct.
mean? And
And
it's
you
and
and I are very literal on lie and not lie.
yes,
You
it
lied
is.
to me.
It's the amount of lies that get told, and people being paid to say things and
Mm,
then say that they're reviewing a fragrance, or they're just like they're
yeah,
showcasing a fragrance. It's like, no, no, no. What you are you are a salesperson. That's what you are, and it should be known. And if I'm wrong, if I'm wrong, you know what I mean? Or if you think I'm trying to slander you, I mean, fuck, we'll have it out. But it's like, it's like I've never had a good answer to the whole, you're
mm,
being paid to say this. How are you not a salesperson and not a reviewer? You know what I
right,
mean? You can't have
right.
your cake and eat it too. You just can't. It's something that people need to accept about life.
Yeah. No, no, that's the and you know, as part of it is also on the consumers. Like it's just
Absolutely.
some of the review also is uh right. Some of the reviewers are like putting out all these kind of top 10 shit, top this, top that, and whatever, or sexiest smell that you can smell on it, man or woman, or like, you know, it just makes the whole thing yucky. Like there are prominent fragrance reviewers. I'm gonna say women. They use the image
The
plus
boobs.
right. They're holding it right at the cleavage, like the bottle that they're showing, and it's just like, and they're like sexiest fragrance that you can have for a man or whatever. It's just yuck. But it seems like you know that's what people want to review. That's what people want to see because that's they're driving the numbers. And yeah,
Yeah.
I don't see it going in the right direction anytime soon. I don't
It's
know.
not. It's that old thing, sex sells. You know what I mean? People
Right?
think that. I mean, men, especially young men, and quite often old, disappointingly old men who have never learned, and they're essentially still fucking 16, and they're actually fucking like in their 50s, 40s, and 50s, who still think that they can behave like 16-year-olds, or they still do behave like 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
Think they've got a sniff, you know what I mean? Think they've got a chance. If I buy that, you know what I mean? Then that woman or someone like you or someone like you, to coin a phrase, is gonna like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It like you just grow up. Do you know what I mean? Just accept it. But that kind of side of Fragcom has like, it's not even. I don't feel. I always use the space analogy. We used to be like a solar system,
Mm,
and then we turned into like a cluster of stars, and then we turned into a galaxy, and now different parts of Fragcom are like galaxies drifting away from each other. And
Right.
at some point they're going to cross the horizon, and we're not even going to be like able to communicate with each other. We'll still be in the same universe, but we
Mm,
won't be able to. There'll be nothing. In fact,
mm,
I remember saying in 2018 or 2019 to somebody that Fragcom had fractured. And I remember Dava from Fragrance Bros doing a video saying our review's dead. And I was like, no, no, of course not. But I knew the fragrance community had fractured, but he was well ahead of the curve because he was like, nobody reviews fragrances anymore. And I was like, no, no, they do. I couldn't see the forest for the trees. You know, the people I was watching were still reviewing stuff, but
right. Right.
the big channels, they were no longer reviewing things; they were selling things. You know, and that's where we're at, and it's only intensified and got worse because there's money at stake.
Yeah.
If there's money to be made and there's money at stake, people will do all sorts of fucking mental shit, and they will sell their asses
Mm.
for enough. If you give people enough money, they will sell anything.
Yeah, I
And
feel like over the years, there's a shift in not just in fragrance community, but in general in the community, is that there's like maintaining your dignity, um,
there's no dignity around here.
versus money. Like, you know what I mean? And when that comes to question, people don't care about it, and it makes me sad, and then sometimes even makes me question what I'm teaching my children. Right? Like, it's like, what am I doing to them? Like, they're gonna grow up miserable like me. Actually, you know. I have thought about a podcast. You and I, we can just Les Miserables. We can talk about the misery.
Yeah, no problem. I'm game for that. It's like ignorance is bliss. You know what I mean? It's
Correct.
if you don't see what's actually going on, then you won't be fucking wounded by it. You know,
Right.
but there'll always be this kind of nagging thing within you that
Yeah.
knows. You know, like there's hypocrisy. I suppose that's what it is. There's nothing original under the sun. It's just the hypocrisy of it. You
Yeah.
know?
And some people are like, I often struggle with this, like anywhere. Like when I see something, it's almost a sty in my eye. Like I can't just ignore it. But like there are a lot of people walk around and say, well, I don't care. Like it's not infecting me, like, or whatever. Whenever facts other people, I don't care. Which is
Yeah.
not it's never been me. But anyways, I envy those people who can ignore the issues and just close it by. I just can't. Like some of the stupid things, like keeps me up at night. Like
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
about the fragrance, just like generally in the world in some ways.
Yes. Absolutely.
So Dahlia suggests someone needs to start an OnlyFans channel for feet and fumes. How about you do that, Dahlia?
Dahlia should do that. She wants more pictures of my feet on the Discord. That's what she wants.
No, we will lose money on that. Like we have to pay people to watch your feet.
Oh, people
Sorry.
love the hooves. I was surprised at how well that fucking picture went down, actually. That was at Bilbo Fragrance's request. Pervert.
Yes. Okay, so I
I
mean,
I have got another 20 minutes.
okay. So good. Let's see. How do you handle the pressure of positive or negative feedback from followers or brands after publishing a review?
I don't give a fuck.
Oh, my eyes are here. Get up, camera. My eyes are here.
Camera's perverted. What on earth is
Oh,
going
yes,
on?
this I have not figured out how this is made for teaching. So like when the teacher is moving, it moves. However, I did not realize that I fidget a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, okay, so you don't give a shit.
I don't give a shit, good, bad, or indifferent. I don't make it for. It's nice when people are happy about it, but if people aren't happy about it and they don't you can't. Like the thing is that I've been around quite a while, and I think a lot of people start doing things they intend to do forever young, right?
Mm,
And
mm,
I didn't start making content till I was about 35, 36. And at that point, I had learned the lesson that if you put too much, like, I don't want to go around just wounding people for no reason or
Mhm,
doing stupid shit for no reason. I'm happy to do that, but I am not going to be stopped from doing what I want as long as it's within reason by people saying, "Oh, I don't really like that," or "You're a you're not very nice," or "You are shit." And it's like, I don't care. Or even if people are like, "Oh, that's brilliant, that's fantastic," it's like, "Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I was going to do it anyway, even if you didn't say that." And I will continue to do it. I'm going to do what I want. I mean, I'll take good advice from anyone, but at the same time, and I used to not be like that, by the way. If someone gave us any kind of advice, that would be swiftly told what to do with it. But I'm not like that anymore because that's just pig ignorant. Like, but what I'm saying, that's kind of the point, is that a lot of people learn on the job, which
mhm,
is fine when there's only a few people watching, or there's like say if you're young and you want to do something like be a plumber and you completely fuck the plumbing and it floods somebody's house, right? That's only happened to one person and only a few people know about it. The whole wide world doesn't know about it and have access
mhm,
to it forever.
mhm, mhm,
So you will learn, if you're any sort of competent human being, you learn from it, your mistakes and stuff, and know not to do mental shit in future, which is
mhm.
kind of why I'm really grateful. None of this existed when I was young.
Right,
Otherwise, I'd either be dead or in jail, or both. They might bury us under the jail. Um, so because I used to be a lot more wild than I am now. So I
right.
think that these, I don't know. I see a lot of adults behaving very stupidly on the internet, and
Oh, I know. And you know what, Rich? Like yes, I made this intro video a few days ago, like the whatever that was in there. And, like, it's just like a TikTok made it, I didn't make it, like, I just plucked the picture there and TikTok made it for me, and my kids have been watching it, like, I don't know how they found out that there was a video. Oh, I was showing it to someone, and they're like, "Mommy, can we see that? Can we see that?" So ever since that day, like, they've been watching it 20 times a day. Like, they love that video, and my oldest one is like, "Oh, that music is so ancient," and I was like, "Yeah, it's an Egyptian music." Anyways, and then my oldest asked me, "Oh, mommy, do you have a channel?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." Like, "Oh, you
no,
wanna use
no,
that?" And I was like, "Oh, shit."
yeah.
Um, so it's gonna be like, I don't do anything nasty or, like, whatever, like, in the channel or just whatever, but it made me all that aware that, like, one day my child, like, not right now, I can kinda control his access, but one day he's gonna watch it, what
Yep.
I said and what I did, and, it's gonna be different than, I remember my dad would scold us for math scores, and one day I found one of his old report cards, and it had he had failed math, so I shoved it into his face, but, like, this is like YouTube is gonna be here forever, right? Like, it's not going anywhere,
Yeah.
and
Unless you delete it.
unless you delete it, and even then, like, we know that people clip things, people do whatever, it's
So
not
the
gonna
the
go
the
anywhere.
thing is, as well, as that, if you do actually make it by doing outrageous shit like Jeremy, then one day everybody knows about it, and people like will tell those kids
Yeah,
as and when they grow up, what their dad was like. And then there are other
yeah,
people being like, there are other people, and women always get it worse, and there'll be people who was like, "Oh, your mom used to show up boobs on the internet for money."
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, that's your mother, that, by the way. And it's like, I mean, was the money worth it?
yeah,
Some people just want fame as well, you know.
yeah,
Some people that they want the clout more than they want the money, you know,
mm.
which
Yeah,
is
no, no, I get it, and it's
wild.
just like, for me, I would rather die than, like, my kids being bullied because of what I did. Like, that
Yeah.
would be the end of me, like,
Yeah, I'd be
um
wounded if that sort of shit came back to haunt other people. But people
right,
should be held accountable for their own actions, but that's just not the way the world is.
right. Everybody's a victim of everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Um Okay, so let's see. Empty Sun says, "What are we gonna do when the vintages dry up?"
Don't look at me because I won't be parting with them. I've sold loads of fragrances over the past year or so, um, and I don't regret any of the ones I sold. But I didn't buy any of them to sell them. That wasn't the intention, you know.
Mm,
I just bought them because I was like, "Oh, that looks good. I want to try that. Oh, that looks good. I want to try that." Something I've learned is that not all the vintages were like hits. You know, some of
right.
the more obscure vintages that nobody remembers have gone and disappeared into time because they were shade. You know what I mean? And it's like be gone. And
Mhm.
it's it's weird like that. It's because you have this kind of rose tinted glasses. That's something I've had to figure out about myself. Like I think that everything's going to be great from like the time period when all the great stuff that I love came out, and then you try them and you're like, "Ooh, no, 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 no,
Right, right.
get back." So you kind of got to expect that. You've kind of got to expect that you're gonna have your, you're gonna get let down, you
Mm,
know, by your own sort of thing. When the vintages run out, when will that be? Will we even notice when the vintages run out?
right.
You know?
Because whatever now, like 2000 fragrance could be considered like made in 2000, it could be considered vintage. Like
Yeah.
in 2004, it could be considered vintage. The vintage is not gonna dry up because it's being
Yeah,
like
it's
made
constantly being generated by time, and time remains undefeated. Time will keep going on, doesn't matter what anybody does. So,
yeah.
I mean, next year's 2025. That's going to make Dior Silver Stem vintage, but it depends how
Wow.
you define. It depends how you define vintage, doesn't it? You know, because
Right.
say if something's been reformulated and repackaged 3 or 4 times, like Dior Homme has,
Mm,
people have been referring to the Silver Stem Dior Homme as vintage for the best part of 10 years now. So
mm,
I think it was me and you that were talking about this. Me and Eugene did a live stream years ago, and we spent, so the video was going to be about masterpieces. And the first thing we said was like, right, what is a masterpiece? And we spent about an hour to an hour and a half trying to define what a masterpiece was before
mhm,
we talked about any of the fragrances, you know? And
yeah,
it's very important that you have these things sorted out in your head, in your own head, and what they mean to you, and then try and relate it and
mm,
get feedback from the world, you
mm,
know? So
mm.
you could be talking about two clean different things, like, you
Yeah,
know?
I mean, and the other day I bombarded you with the pictures. Um, so, I went at Exans, I went to this talk. What is niche? What is designer? What's luxury designer? And what are the kind of like the definition of these things? And it's changing over time, like what it is. Like what was niche 10 years ago is not niche anymore. And like a brand that you thought it was niche then, it's not niche now. Like it could have been designer or luxury designer or whatever that is, right? Like it's that and the
Yeah,
masterpiece and all those definitions and somebody calling themselves a perfumer, like being a nose and all of those things have, you have to look up to, you know, the definitions as the time goes by.
yeah. There's going to be a disaster with that. People calling themselves perfumers and selling perfumes like completely off grid. There's gonna Something bad's going to happen there.
Mm,
Um, like that shit. I mean, you've got to remember at the end of the day, you are putting shit on your skin. And there are some perfumes I love that I can't wear, like Quorum. There's Quorum by Antonio Puig, and I love it. It's essentially just a fucking oak moss soliflor,
mm,
and I love it. And I can't put it on because I will come out in a fucking rash, you
mm,
know. And it's such a shame, but I mean that's just the way it is. And then you see these kids, like I say, I'm not on TikTok or anything, but I've been sent fucking clips of videos and stuff, um, of people on fucking TikTok making shit like perfumes in like their kitchen. Like the kid's just like fucking knocking them up. He's got his dinner next to him, and I'm like, the fuck. I was like, have you not seen like the lengths that perfume houses go to keep like a sterile environment when they're cooking up perfumes? Fuck. And it's
yep.
just it's like this is wild. Like you just wouldn't. It's crazy shit, you
Yeah.
know?
And I
Uh,
think there's also we talked about disconnect a little bit, but when I took the course in grass, like I realized there are a bunch of people who want to learn how to make perfume or whatever, but had no idea what the perfume market, like about different brands, what's out there, the fragrances, or they are collectors at all. Like they've just wanted to make perfumes, right? Like,
Yeah.
and then there's a disconnect there. Like they didn't know people like me existed, and I didn't know people like them existed that didn't know certain things. And then you come to Fracom, and there are people on YouTube, people on Discord, people on Facebook and Instagram. It's all kind of like just little islands
Yeah.
of people, and there's kind of disconnection. And then like with internet being there, like everybody's coming up with their own googling
Some
things.
some people have got that spirit. It's a lot more common in America that get up and go, I'm just going to go and do it.
Yeah,
It's a land of possibilities. I mean, it's much less like that in Europe because everybody's being beaten down. But like, it's you get these people and they're just like, well, fucking, I'm going to get it. And it's like, well, fair play. I can appreciate like your attitude, but the execution of your idea is absolutely fucking hideous. Like, and you should be stopped, frankly, or you're going to fucking hurt somebody. That's like the worst people. There are other people as well above them who I would call like artisanal and indie, and they're not in that, they're not doing that sort of thing, but they are making their own perfumes, and it shows that they're usually self-taught,
mm,
and it shows, it really does show. It shows the gulf in class. I have never tried a self-taught perfume as like a purely self-taught perfume as like brand and thought that's high perfume, that's high art.
yeah.
It's brilliant, because it just doesn't happen. I'm afraid it just doesn't happen. The
I
I've
mean,
tried
think about it. It takes about 7 to 9 years to become like a trained perfumer, right? Like, and it's you can't, like, no matter how much of a Google access you have, you can't be doing that at home. Like
well,
there's certain things you can't.
Pierre Bourdon makes people read Proust before he'll teach them on the nature of what it is to become an artist and why people create art, you know.
Mm.
um and it's like, that's going to take a couple of years. Do you know what I mean? Just
Correct.
reading Proust is going to take a couple of years, and then he'll train you. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's. I just think that it's become very diluted as a space in almost every different way. It's become, there's a lot more fucking fresh air in between
Mm.
the great releases. You don't have great years in perfume anymore. You don't have 3 or 4 absolutely massive perfumes released. Chanel are still trying to do their own thing, but it's been 15 years since they released a new men's perfume, and I mean,
Right.
anytime they want, they can release a men's perfume anytime now, but we've been saying that for the best part of 10 years. I remember people saying what Chanel's answer to Sauvage is going to be, and it was like, well, Chanel's answer to Sauvage was Bleu de Chanel, so really Sauvage was Dior's answer to
Mm.
Bleu de Chanel, but
Mm.
there's been fuck all. Olivia Polish hasn't made a brand new men's fragrance for Chanel yet, you know,
Wow.
and
I
it's
mean,
strange to think. I don't know what must be going on over there at
mm,
all, but the culmination of whatever's going on is nothing.
yeah, it's possible. It's like there are a lot that is kind of affecting the fragrance making, including kind of the restrictions and what you can put in things and what you can't, and the regulations, and then kind of being IFRA and whatnot. That's all sort of stuff that's kind of affecting all these brands. Okay, let's see. Sanjini says some things are just nostalgic for, and then you get a bottle and go, "What was I thinking?" Yeah,
Yes,
right.
I've
Like
got a
you.
couple, yeah, I've got a couple of perfumes I've bought, and I've thought I'm going to wear this, and it's like fucking hell. I remember being 16 wearing this at school. I'm not that person anymore.
And it's shite.
Yes, aye, exactly, aye. Oh,
Um, and then I don't know what Lily Adalia is answering to, but it says agreed, Lily, but Guerlain admitting they were copying Cody, is this so much less romantic? The saying is based on Eastern love story. Ah, I hate those fucked up stories that they're not real. Like, come on, stop that. Stop
yeah.
giving the stories.
Yeah, the stories are ridiculous. Everybody wants to buy into a story, but there's so many stories now that, I mean, that 8 and Bob story is fucking outrageous. How they thought they could get away with that and that people wouldn't know that was just lies. You know what I mean? That was just lies. There's no evidence that that ever happened, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves, but they won't be because they made a couple of quid. You know,
True.
like Creed. Like, why isn't Olivia Creed suffering for what he did? Like with
You
his
mean Napoleon didn't wear Aventus Muse 31 hat?
allegedly not, no. And I mean, to be fair to him,
What a
I think
shame.
it's quite funny that like these massive conglomerates like Kering and BlackRock are having to fucking pick up they're having to pick up the pieces of like all the lies he's told over his lifetime.
Mm,
And you've got other brands who like you've got people who say they're perfumers when they're not, who have got their names on the bottles. Um, sell their brand, and as soon as they've got the money, they're off. You know, and
yeah.
they just keep getting away with it. They just do what you want. I mean, that's it. There's no honest money to be made. Like, you know,
Mm. Yeah, no, that absolutely, I see that,
one of
and
the
just
one of the worst things that I've come across in the period is just how much the actual industry and
mm,
the the actual production of fragrance is just built on raw bullshit. It's just
mm,
such a full of shit industry from the whole. People used to think Yves Saint Laurent was a perfumer because they'd be like, "Oh, look, Yves Saint Laurent made fucking Koros. Yves Saint Laurent made
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
like all of these different fragrances," and it was like, no, because nobody knew how it worked. But now it's being exposed.
Well, they are making money on people's ignorance, right? That bothers me when a company is making money banking on people being stupid. That I'm sorry for my word, or being ignorant. That really bothers me because that's kind of like taking advantage of people, right?
Yeah, it's kind of what we were saying earlier about consumers having to like educate themselves, learn about that shit. You know.
Right, right. No clean hands in the industry, or I got drunk at a party and puked in the bowl. My inspiration for gross. You won't hear that.
Jesus Christ.
That is I have no comments for Kurus. Like whatever I smelled was horrible at and I know some of you guys like it. And I hear you don't like EDT, or what did you say you don't like of
There's a version of Chorus I don't like, the Parfum's core version, the second version.
mm,
I like the original Charles of the Ritz version. I like the Sanofi version and the Gucci PPR version. I even like the modern version. But that Parfum's core, whatever it was that they did, because I think it was Costas that got banned between the first and second formulations. Um, Absolutely fucking, I don't know what happened. They just barfed the second batch of that stuff. It was rough.
um I'm gonna ask the last question and you're gonna hate me for it. I give you the review. He's yawning. He's yawning. Here.
I'm not yawning. I'm in shock. What am I gonna what is the question?
If you could only wear one fragrance for the rest of your life, what would it be and why? He hated it.
Ugh. What
Brother.
what am I, brother? What am I gonna do? Oh God, I would probably wear something. Oh shit, I'd have to get into the spring and summer stuff. Maybe something like Prada Amber Pour On
Mm,
because it's really, really, really good, but it fits almost any situation. You know, I would if I had my own personal thing, but you can't imagine wearing fucking Balenciaga Pour On in some situations. Although
mm,
I would, but I like to try and fit in the context of what I was going to do. So it would maybe Paco Rabanne Pour On. It would be something that was designed as a signature scent, you know.
mm, mm,
Maybe it's even Bois d'Argent. But the
mm,
thing is with Bois d'Argent, you've got to like, I couldn't just sit here in my t-shirt and my gigs like I am now. You know what I mean? And wear Bois d'Argent. It just doesn't, it jars. You know what I mean? I have to look nice, and I don't want to do that all the time. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I just want to put my tracksuit bottoms on and my t-shirt and just sit and just like stare into the distance. You know what I mean? And you can't do that with Bois d'Argent because you disgrace the fragrance.
correct. Like your brother, John, you need. I feel like I can't even. I need to be dressed up. Like I have to have a dress or a suit or something like formal. Like I can't wear. Bobby says, "Can you bleep the cussing? My kids are listening." Your kids are adults, Bobby. That's okay. Sorry. Okay. All right. So I think this is about time. That
Yes.
thank you very much for agreeing to do this with me. I really enjoyed. I can talk to you until God tomorrow.
Yes,
And
we can do this again if
probably
you ever want to. It's cool.
yes.
Yes.
We should definitely do that, and maybe we should bring Ramsey one day, and three of us do like one. That would be nice too. I mean,
Yeah.
Ramsey's been busy like recently, but when he has time, I don't want to.
Yeah, he's quite busy. Like, oh yeah, he's been doing loads of shit. I think he's got something coming up in February as well that he's planning for. So I
Oh,
don't know. I don't know when that'll. I don't know when he'll have spare time. He doesn't even stream on his own channel at the minute.
yeah.
So
But
he's busy. But yeah, I'm game. I'm game. I'll do that.
okay, sounds
Okay.
good. Thank you for doing this. I enjoyed very much. Thank
Thank
you,
you very
everyone.
much. I enjoyed it too. Goodbye. Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye.